How's it going, guys? Now I want to talk about a film that, it's another one that I didn't really know a whole lot about until recently. I mean, chalk it up to not really keeping up with a lot of stuff that's going to be coming out, recently. I don't know. I've kind of fell on the wayside on a lot of that stuff. I don't really hear about something until it hits and it gets word of mouth or, whatever. But this film is Tucker and Dale versus Evil. Now, apparently, a lot of people already know about this film. I mean, I guess the deal is they were going to release this theatrically, but I guess the movie had been bootlegged so much by the time they were going to, they decided not to. And now it's getting ready to drop on Blu-ray. And it's actually on demand right now. That's how I watched it. And basically, Tucker and Dale versus Evil tells a story of Tucker and Dale. Tucker played by Alan Tudyk and Dale played by Tyler Labine. Or Labine, however you want to say it. Tucker has a newly purchased vacation home that they're going to deep in the woods, and they're going to go out there and just have a good time of drinking beer and fishing and just enjoying the company of each other. And right about this time there is a group of college kids that is also going to the same woods, and as they're going there, they stop at this little gas station along the way. They run into Tucker and Dale, and there's kind of an odd encounter with the college kids, and one of the college kids, goes by the name Chad, played by Jesse Moss, which many of you may recognize from the awesome film Dear Mr. Gacy. Chad, later on in the night, tells around the campfire, he tells a story to all the other college kids about this story about these backwoods killers that stalk and slash and kill teenagers, and college kids, to kind of rile them up, kind of reminiscent of like Friday the 13th type, or something like that, storytelling that happens in those movies. It's right along the same type of lines. So what happens from there is Tucker and Dale are out one night fishing. They're doing some night fishing, and they hear something, and they look over, and they see one of the college kids, Allison. She's up on these rocks. Getting ready, they're all going skinny dipping. She's up there. She starts taking her clothes off. They're like, "Oh my God!" They're like freaking out over seeing this. Well, about that time, she looks over at them. She freaks out. She falls off of the rock into the water, knocking herself unconscious. So Tucker and Dale, they panic. They go over to help her. Well, right about this time, one of the college kids happens to look over and see her getting pulled into the boat. In his mind, it automatically triggers a story that he was told earlier about these fucking crazy-ass hillbillies that roam the woods. So, he goes back and tells everybody, "Oh my God, they have Allison," and all this shit. And, just one thing leads to another after that. I mean, that's the basic setup, and that's what continues to happen throughout the movie, is all these situations pop up that, in reality, it's not really what's happening, but what they're seeing at the time makes it appear, otherwise. With both sides, too. I mean, with Tucker and Dale also. Guys, I have to say, this movie just fucking blew me away. I mean, this was just an awesome movie all the way around. I mean, I think of a horror comedy that is done right. This is right up there. I mean, films that I think of immediately when I think of a horror comedy, ones that are done right, just right off the top of my head: Return of the Living Dead, Evil Dead 2, more recently Shaun of the Dead. And, you know, I don't want to overhype this for anybody that hasn't seen it, but guys, in my opinion, I would put this movie right alongside all three of those. You know, will it be, you know, a seminal classic like you know, Return of the Living Dead or Evil Dead 2 is? It's hard to say. I mean, you can't predict things like that. But it's genuinely funny and clever like those movies are, and Shaun of the Dead also. I mean, I was just really amazed at the writing of this film. You know, I kept hearing little things here recently about this film and hearing how good it was, a lot of different people talking about it. And, you know, when I hear stuff like that, you know, it kind of makes me leery on things, you know, because it's so easy to overhype things. It's so easy to overhype movies. But for me, this movie really just lived up to all of it. I thought that it was just great. I mean, I literally busted out laughing several times during this movie. You know, just some of the situations that Dale and Tucker find themselves in, it just... I mean, and you know, I kept hearing a lot of comparisons to Shaun of the Dead, and it's not like Shaun of the Dead at all as far as the story goes. Like, this isn't a zombie movie or anything like that. It's basically like, I guess you could say a different take on like a Deliverance or something like that, like a backwoods type slasher film. Like, but it's very unique in the sense that you're seeing different angles of it than what you would in a film like that. And Tucker and Dale aren't really backwoods killers at all. They're just hillbillies that want to drink beer and fucking fish, you know. But they're thrown into this situation that's crazy, and this shows how they react to it. But I can see the comparisons to Shaun of the Dead in the sense that it's two essentially numbskull guys, you know, that are put through these trials of life, you know, in this horrific situation. And, you know, Tyler Labine that plays Dale, I mean, he is just, it's so perfect. I mean, you know, him and then Alan Tudyk that's cast as Tucker, I mean, they are just perfectly cast. I mean, you could not ask for two better guys. I mean, they have just excellent chemistry. You believe they're friends. You believe they've always been around each other. I mean, you know, and you just cannot love these guys. I mean, right from the get-go, they're just amazing. And then all the people that play the college kids, you know, the Katrina Bowden that plays Allison, she's great in that role. You know, she unexpectedly comes to like these guys. You know, while her friends think she's kidnapped and all this shit, really she's just trying to recover, you know, from her injuries. You know, Tucker and Dale taking her back to their vacation home, trying to rehabilitate her and get her back on her feet while her friends think she's kidnapped. It's just, you know, it's that strange line right there that you see how the story goes. It's just seeing both sides of it is really awesome. And guys, I mean, I hate spoiling things, but there's one scene in particular that I have to talk about here, and some of you may not want to hear any of these scenes, but there's one funny scene that I'm going to talk about right now. And if you don't want to hear it, fast forward about, you know, I'd say about a minute. But I'm going to tell this scene because it's only one scene. This is just to give you an example of how this movie is. There's several funny scenes in this, but one scene in particular shows Tucker, you know, cutting through a log of wood. And okay, here's the setup. They already have Allison. She's recovering in their house. She's still knocked unconscious. Her friends know that she's there. They find the cabin, so they're trying to get to her. And meanwhile, Tucker's out back cutting wood for the fireplace. He cuts through one of the logs of wood out back, and he cuts right into a beehive. Well, you know, bees start coming out, and he takes a chainsaw, he just takes off running, he's screaming, ah! He runs around front with the chainsaw. Well, the college kid that's out there, you know, he's slowly pacing up to the house, checking it out. Well, he sees Tucker run around the house with the chainsaw. He thinks he's a fucking crazy lunatic, you know, thinking about that story. So he takes off hauling ass through the woods. Tucker's running from the bees, you know, with the chainsaw all crazy. Oh my God! You know, he looks like a lunatic. It's just such a funny scene, man, and it's so clever. Just the setup, the payoff, everything. It's just, it could not be more excellent. And there's just so many times like that in this film where things like that happen. I just couldn't recommend this film more, guys. I mean, I was, you know, I can't say it enough. Blown away. It was hilarious. I think that this movie, in my opinion, it's an instant classic. You know, this is coming out on Blu-ray. I believe November 29th is the official release date of this, and I personally can't wait to buy this thing. I mean, it's something that I will buy and I will watch time and time again, no doubt about it. So, guys, if I have to give this a rating, you know, I really haven't thought about this, but I would give it a 9 out of 10, you know, which is a really high rating, especially for a newer film. It's just clever, man. It's just excellent, and once again, you know, the studios dropped the ball on releasing something that's totally original, totally awesome, but you know what? Fuck the studios anyway. We're not going to get into all that. But the bottom line is the film was made. It's awesome. I guarantee you this film is going to have a cult following. I just don't see any way around it whatsoever. So yeah, guys, 9 out of 10 for Tucker and Dale versus Evil. And like I said, it's on demand right now. You can rent it for, like, I think it's $5. And then here in just a few short weeks, a week or so, it's going to be coming out on DVD and Blu-ray. I highly recommend just going and picking it up and buying it, you know, if horror comedy is your thing, especially horror comedy done right. You know, horror comedy is a dime a dozen nowadays, and most of the time it's not done right. You know, it may be done decent with a few chuckles, but, you know, this one has genuinely good laughs, but it's also very clever also. It's not just stupid laughs or whatever. It's done very cleverly, I will say. Written, just expertly written, definitely. So, yeah, guys, I guess that's about all I got to say. I really can't think of anything else I want to say except just check this one out, guys. It's worth your time. So, thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. Later.